What are my options if my case is stuck at USCIS or the State Department? Hi, I'm Jim Hacking, immigration lawyer practicing law throughout the United States at our offices in St. Louis, San Diego, and Washington, D.C. A lot of people tell me, Jim, you're too quick to suggest suing USCIS or suing the State Department when someone's case is stuck. And I have reasons for that, which I will discuss later on in this video. But first, I want to go ahead and tell you what your options are when you find your case outside of normal processing times, or even when USCIS just keeps pushing back processing times and you find yourself frustrated thinking that they are taking too long. There are lots of different paths, lots of different options that people try to take to make their case go faster, and we're going to cover those in today's video. The first option is to call USCIS. Now, USCIS has a 1-800 number. You're probably sick of dialing it, but many people know that you can call USCIS and talk to a Tier 1 officer. A Tier 1 officer is a very low-level member, probably a private contractor at USCIS, who is in charge of responding to phone calls that come into USCIS. Now, you'll know that there's a long delay, a long wait time, and that when you finally get an officer, they usually don't have much information for you. You might try to ask them about your case, but pretty much if it's not on the online portal, you're not going to get any new information, most likely from a Tier 1 officer. They may give you the option to talk to a Tier 2 officer. A Tier 2 officer might have a little bit more information, but at the end of the day, at the very least and the very most, all they can do is put in a service request for you, and they can say, oh, we acknowledge that your case is outside of normal processing times. We're going to look into it and try to figure out what happens. But most people will tell you that even when they've talked to a Tier 2 officer, and even after a formal service request has been made, that they don't get much information and that not much happens after they call USCIS. The next option that we see a lot of people try is to contact the CIS ombudsman. The ombudsman is someone whose job it is to sort of monitor and to make sure that USCIS is doing their job properly. Now, the ombudsman looks at the agency as a whole. They look at how they're spending their money. They look at how they're processing cases. And they used to be very active in helping people try to get their cases moving at USCIS. But here's the thing. The delays at USCIS right now are so severe that the ombudsman has actually said they're not going to intervene on individual cases when the only issue presented by the person calling the ombudsman or emailing the ombudsman is delay. Now, that's a real head scratcher. The ombudsman's job is to advocate for the person going through the immigration process. The ombudsman's job is to make sure that the agency is doing what it's supposed to do and doing what you've paid them to do. So the idea that the ombudsman is washing their hands and saying, well, delay's so bad, we'll acknowledge it every year in our annual report. We'll encourage USCIS to do a little bit better. But at the end of the day, are they really going to do much when they've actually announced that on an individual basis, they're not going to look at your case if all that you're complaining about is delays? So this is perplexing to me. And of course, it's perplexing to many of the people who've tried going that CIS ombudsman route just because nothing really happens. The third option that we've seen a lot of people try is to contact a member of Congress. Now, you know, if you live in a state in the United States, you're going to have 2 senators and you're going to have a congressperson. And this person, these 3 people are elected and they work for their constituents in Washington, D.C. Now, of course, their main concerns are getting reelected and raising funds and meeting with real rich people to raise more money for their next election. As far as dealing with immigrant concerns, and when it comes to helping people that might not even be U.S. citizens, you're very, very low on their list. And while I think that these senators and Congress members are well-intentioned, the work usually falls to some low-level intern, perhaps a college intern or even a high school intern, to go through the process with you in trying to get USCIS to act on your case. But I've seen time and time again that whatever intervention comes about from the congressperson or from the senator, that the information that you get back is basically the exact same information that you would get by calling the USCIS Tier 1 or Tier 2 officer. So it's almost as if the agency has sort of stiff-armed the member of Congress and has figured out how to, make it look like they're inquiring on behalf of their constituent, but they really don't. So what happens is if you contact a member of Congress, you get put through to the immigration liaison at the office. And like I said, it's some intern. And the intern has you fill out a Privacy Act form, and then they have the ability to talk to the agency about your case. And so they send an email to the agency, Hey USCIS, hey State Department, why are you sitting so long on Abdullah's case? Oh, hold on, member of Congress, we're going to go look into it. And then they do the same dog and pony show that they do when you call the CIS ombudsman, or the same dog and pony show that they do when you call USCIS. So when you're dealing with the member of Congress, like I said, every now and then they get lucky, every now and then something happens. But in the vast majority of cases, contacting a member of Congress, it might make you feel better, but it doesn't really move the ball forward. And we have seen very few cases where the intervention of a member of Congress has really sealed the deal and gotten the case done. In fact, we think that on the rare occasions that that does work, it's simply because the agency was getting ready to issue a decision anyway. We don't know that for sure, but it sure seems that way based on anecdotal evidence, stories that people have told us, and just the sheer number of people that we know who've contacted a member of Congress and have had no luck. All right, so you're at your wit's end. You've contacted USCIS, no help. You've reached out to the ombudsman, sorry, can't help you. Your member of Congress had their low-level intern reach out to the agencies to try to make your case move faster. Bubkiss, nothing, nada, zilch, nothing's happened. So you're left shaking your head, and you find this crazy guy on YouTube. His name's Jim Hacking, and he does this YouTube live show where he talks to immigrants all the time. And most of the time people call that show, they're talking about delays. And Hacking always says, you should think about suing them. As the time that we're shooting this video, we've done over 1,300 lawsuits. And lawsuits don't work in every single case. They work in the vast majority of cases because when we sue them, we ask a federal judge who doesn't work for immigration, who is appointed for life. We ask that judge to order the agencies to work faster. Well, you know what? The agencies don't like judges telling them what to do. So as incredulous as it sounds, as crazy as it sounds, to keep the judge from ordering them to rule on your case, they go ahead and rule on your case. It's the strangest damn thing. But it works in the vast majority of cases. Now, in a small number of cases, and I can never predict which ones, they do file motions to dismiss, and they say, this person hasn't waited that long. This person hasn't really experienced an unreasonable delay. And I've seen them make that argument when people have been waiting for 2 years. So we can never predict, and I wish we could, which ones they're going to file that motion to dismiss on, but it's under 5 or 10% of the cases in which we file lawsuits. In the vast majority of the cases, we file the lawsuit, we send them a copy, and they get working on the case. Now, it might sound scary to you to sue the federal agencies. I remember the first time I sued Donald Trump himself. I was a little nervous. But after having done it now over 1,300 times, I can tell you from the bottom of my heart that the agencies don't take it personally. You're not asking for them to be fired. You're not asking for them to give you any money. You're simply asking them to do their job. You're simply asking them to do what you paid them to do. And you're asking them to do it in a timely fashion. Now, we're not asking that you get placed at the front of the line. We're just asking for reasonable processing times. And I take the position that if you've been waiting for a year, waiting for a year and a half, waiting for 2 years, this is unreasonable for an agency that says that it's self-funded by the fees that you paid. In other words, they're saying that they make enough money to pay all their employees to do their job effectively when they've set that fee for you. So why in the world can't they fix this? Now, I know that we've had things like Donald Trump busting up USCIS, and we've had the pandemic, but that stuff has moved on. We're way past that. It's time for USCIS to do their job, and the best way to get the agencies to do their job is to sue them. And I really do enjoy doing it. I love helping people who've been banging their head on the wall and they can't get any answers. We get to come in, file that lawsuit, and get those agencies moving, and that's how we hold them accountable. If you've been frustrated, if you've been banging your head against the wall, if you've contacted the ombudsman, if you've contacted your member of Congress, if you've called USCIS every month for the last 4 months and nothing's happening on your case, you might think about filing a lawsuit. You might think about giving us a call. The number there is 314-961-8200. You can also email us, and in the memo line you should say, I want to sue USCIS, or I want to sue the State Department, and that'll get you fast-tracked to our leads team, and we'll know why you're calling us. If you want to join us in our Facebook group, we have a Facebook group. It's called Immigrant Home. If you find Immigrant Home in the Facebook group, they'll let you in, and then you can talk to other people going through the immigration process just like you. You can hear about success stories that we've had filing these kinds of lawsuits and handling our regular USCIS cases. And then, of course, we have this YouTube channel where we're posting new videos a couple times a week, and where we host our Immigration Answers live show, which you can join in if you have any questions of your own. If you have questions about the lawsuit process or anything else, you can join us there. And if you want to join us, we'd love to have you. Thanks a lot. and have a great day.